While I see where you're coming from with this comment, this isn't forced at all, and I actually use it all the time, and it's a lot more practical than you might think for 3 reasons. If you didn't see that last video, this is just in regards to my action button menu that I use to do a whole bunch of things that I do commonly throughout the day. First reason, while you're correct that a lot of this stuff can be done in just a few taps, for me to access it here, all I have to do is push the action button as I'm pulling my phone out of my pocket, and it's there in one single tap. I don't need to navigate through 1, 2, 3 taps to do something. Sure, I'm only saving like 10 seconds, but when I'm doing it 20, 30 times a day, compounding that 7 days a week, 365 days a year, that time adds up. Second, and this one's the really big one for me that most people probably wouldn't consider, when I use this menu on my phone, I'm not actually having to go onto my phone, and I'm not tempted to do something and then open the Instagram app or waste more time elsewhere on my phone, which I'm really bad for. If I have to quickly log a to-do, I just push my action button, I don't even go into my phone, I log my to-do, and I get out of there. It's a really good tool to not allow myself to get distracted while still getting the things done I need to. And lastly, it frees up a bunch of space on my home screen so I can be efficient with other things because I have my reminders, I have my do not disturb mode, I have my voice memo all mapped to that action button. That means that I do not need shortcuts for any of those things, and I could allow myself to be more efficient with the other things I need on my phone without having to have that take up home screen space. Again, super valid criticism, but I wanted to just break down my reasons why I do it this way, and that it's definitely not just forced for the video. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll catch you in the next video. This actually gives me such a good idea. 1 second, let me add it. I'll always be ready. I use my iPhone 15 Pro's action button at least 30 times a day. Here's how I have it set up so it's not just a gimmick and actually useful. When I press the action button, it brings up this menu. This gives me access to a whole bunch of things I would normally do on my phone without even unlocking it. The first one is adding a to-do list task. I live and die by to-do lists, so this lets me add something quickly that I can then sort later. Similar to the to-do list, if I have a thought or idea I don't want to forget, I'll often just say it into a voice note. This is a really easy way of retaining a whole bunch of information. I use this all the time for like video scripts and ideas. This will simply toggle do not disturb. I use this all the time whenever I go into meetings or whatever. This will simply open up the TV remote for whatever room I'm in, so I don't have to go digging around for the remote. And lastly, this one will entirely shut down my smart home. And while my smart home does shut down automatically with an automation when we leave the house, it's assuming that the dog is home, so a few lights stay on and the thermostats don't turn entirely off. If we push this button, this is when we leave the home with the dog, so it entirely shuts down, everything off, all the heat off, blah, blah. I know none of these are super glamorous or have any crazy automations, but it's the simple stuff that actually makes your life generally easier, as tech should. I'd love to hear how you guys are using your action buttons. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. 6 years ago, I made the switch between Android and Windows for all my phones and computers to all Apple. And just yesterday, I made the switch from the Ender 3 to a Bambu 3D printer. And I did this for what I realized is the exact same reason. Let me explain. Okay, so going back to Android and Windows, I loved, and I still love, the infinite flexibility, the open sourceness, the multitude of options and ways to upgrade, the repairability, the affordability of Android. I think they're incredible devices. Now, as a tech nerd, a hobbyist, somebody who loves this stuff, I still love Android and Windows, but when I need tech as a tool, not just something to tinker on and mess around with and try to push the limits of things, but when I need tech to do a job for me, I need it to help me with work, I need it to seamlessly transfer things between devices, I need it to just work at all times and I can't have it slowing me down, that's when I made the switch to Apple. It doesn't have that same level of flexibility. I can't tinker with it. I can't enjoy it as a hobby that is tech in itself. But when I need it to do its job as a phone, as a device, as a laptop, as an ecosystem that all works together, you just can't beat Apple. And that's why you see me using Apple as my day-to-day all around, because it just works. Now, enter 3D printers. For the last 4 years, I've been using the Ender series 3D printers, which are more of a DIY, budget-friendly, open source 3D printer. And value for your money, these things are incredible. You can do so much with them. They're totally open source. You could repair them. You could fix them. There's a ton of resources out there. There's a huge support community. You could modify them. They're just pretty amazing machines. I have a much better understanding of 3D printing, and I'm able to utilize it a lot more because of everything that the Ender taught me. But as I'm reaching the point now where I need a 3D printer as a tool to help me with a lot of other projects, I need to be able to make things quicker. I need to be able to make things more efficiently. I can't be tinkering on problems and everything. I made the switch to the Bambu. The one I have here is the X1 Carbon, which is their top of the line. It's insanely expensive, but pretty much all Bambu printers have this same methodology of just being able to work out of the box. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to do anything. It just prints stuff when you click print. Now, the really funny thing here is the downsides to the Bambu printers are almost identical to the downsides with Apple. So because this thing is so integrated, it uses its own proprietary software and hardware, that means it's going to be a lot more difficult to troubleshoot, it's going to be a lot more difficult to repair, and it's not going to be as accessible for you to just jump in and tweak things, tinker things, fix things. That's not really an option with the Bambu. It's a lot more of a closed source. The software is technically open source, but it is still all owned by Bambu. Honestly, I've only owned this thing for like 24 hours, and I could say without a doubt that like the level of seamlessness and integration is night and day between the two. I go on about this thing for ages, and I probably will in other more specific videos, but I just found it really interesting that the parallels between me switching from Android over to these devices is almost identical. That being said, I'm not recommending one over the other. I'm just laying out the options. Frankly, I am really glad that I did start with Android and I did start with Enders to get that foundational understanding of how these things work, what the options are, so I can still utilize them as a hobby, but I'm also glad I made that switch afterwards so I can also utilize them as a tool. There's no right or wrong way to go about this thing. I just want to kind of give you guys my insight into my tech journey. And thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video, and I appreciate every single one of you.